So, you're looking to start your career in the US. That's awesome. But before you can do anything, there's one really important document you've got to get. Today, we're going to break down exactly what that is. It's basically the key that legally unlocks your ability to work here. I get it. Building a new life and career is a huge deal, but all the rules and paperwork, it can feel like a lot. That's exactly why we're here. We're going to walk through the entire process of getting work authorization step by step so you can feel totally confident and ready to go. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the work permit itself. Then we'll get into how to check if you're eligible and how to actually apply. After that, we'll cover the next big step, getting your social security number. And stick around because we've got some really important policy changes for 2026 you need to know about. Finally, we'll wrap up with what happens once you're all set and ready to work. Okay, first things first, let's talk about this key document. You know, it's so much more than just a piece of plastic. Think of it as your official green light, your ticket to start earning a living and sharing your talents here in the US. So, the official name is the Employment Authorization Document, or EAD for short. But you'll probably just hear people call it a work permit. It comes from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, and its job is super simple. It proves to any employer that, yes, you are legally allowed to work and get paid in the United States. Okay, this part is super important because it gets confusing. Let's clear things up. You've got the EAD, the SSN, and something called an ITIN. Think of it like this. The EAD is your permission slip to work. The Social Security number, or SSN, is how the government tracks your earnings for things like retirement benefits. And the ITIN? That's just a number for filing taxes if you can't get an SSN. And let me be really clear, an ITIN does not give you permission to work. Totally different things. All right, so we know what an EAD is, but who can actually get one? This is a huge question, right? Because not just anyone can apply. It's all tied to very specific immigration situations. Let's look at some of the most common groups who are eligible. For instance, if you have an asylum application that's been pending for over 150 days, you can apply. Or if you have temporary protected status, that's TPS, or you're part of DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. People who've been granted parole are also on the list. Now, this isn't every single category, but it gives you a good idea of who typically qualifies. Okay, so let's say you've checked and you're eligible. Awesome. Now it's time for the main event, the application. And don't sweat it. We're going to break this whole thing down so it's not intimidating at all. Really, when you boil it down, it's just 3 main steps. Step 1, fill out the application form, which is called the I-765. Step 2, get all your documents and proof together. And Step 3, send it all off to USCIS. That's the basic flow. All right, let's focus on that second step for a sec, because getting your documents right is everything. You're going to need that finished I-765 form, 2 recent passport-style photos, make sure they're identical, a copy of an ID, and, this is the big one, the paperwork that proves you're in one of those eligible categories we just mentioned. When it comes to actually filing, you've got 2 main ways to do it. You can go the old school route and mail in a paper application, or for some people, like if you have a pending asylum case, you can file online. Honestly, the online option can be way easier if it's available to you. Now, let's talk about waiting, and this is where your specific situation really matters, because the processing times can be wildly different. If you're an asylum applicant getting your first EAD, you might get it in about a month. But for lots of other categories, you could be looking at a wait of several months. It all depends on things like background checks and how busy the USCIS office is. Just knowing this upfront helps set your expectations. All right, so your application for the EAD is in, you've asked for permission to work. Great, but there's another key you need. To actually get on a payroll and have your income tracked, the system needs to know who you are. And that means getting a social security number. So the big question is, how do you get that SSN? Well, you've got a couple of options, and I'm going to tell you about a huge time saver that's built right into the EAD application process. So you've got a few ways to go, but for most of us who are already here and applying for a work permit, the easiest way by far is to just check a box. Seriously, on that I-765 form, there's a box for Enumeration Beyond Entry, or EBE. If you check it, USCIS and the Social Security Administration talk to each other, and your card gets sent to you. If you skip that box, you'll have to go apply in person at a Social Security office later, which is just an extra hassle. Okay, so when your Social Security card arrives, look closely. It'll probably say something like, valid for work only with DHS authorization. What does that mean? It means this card by itself isn't enough proof to work. It's a restricted card. You have to show it together with your valid EAD card. They're a team. Both are needed to prove you can work. Okay, everybody, listen up. This next part is really, really important. The rules are changing, and there are some big shifts coming up around 2026 that you have to know about. Seriously, this could save you a lot of trouble down the line. First up, how long your work permit is good for. It used to be that many EADs were valid for up to 5 years, which was great. Well, that's changed. Now, for most people, the validity period is back down to about 18 months. What's the takeaway? You're going to have to renew it way more often. And here's the other huge change, a real heads up. You know that automatic 180-day extension people used to get when they renewed their EAD, the one that prevented them from losing their job while waiting? Well, for most applications filed after October 2025, it's gone. That buffer is disappearing, which means getting your renewal in on time is no longer just a good idea, it's absolutely critical. So what do? The rule is you can apply for your renewal up to 180 days. That's about 6 months before your current one expires. With those long processing times and no more automatic extensions, you have to be on top of this. Put a reminder in your phone, mark your calendar, do whatever you need to do, and file that renewal as early as the rules allow. Whew. Okay, you've made it through the paperwork, you know the timelines, you're up to speed on the new rules. Now for the fun part. Let's talk about what happens next, when you can actually start working. So once you have those two documents, your EAD card and your Social Security card, that's it. You've got what you need. You can walk into an interview, and when they ask that question, you can say with total confidence, yes, I am legally authorized to work in the U.S. And hey, remember, you're not on your own in the job search. There are some fantastic resources out there. Look for American Job Centers. They're government-funded and can help with everything. Check your local city government's website. Places like New York City have whole offices dedicated to helping immigrants. And there are incredible nonprofits too, like Upwardly Global, that are experts at helping people get back into their professional fields. Look, you've put in the work. You've navigated a tough process to get the keys to the U.S. job market. I know it can feel like a marathon sometimes, but it opens up so many doors. So now that you have those keys, what door are you going to open first?